Yeah, it is live. I think it's live. I mean, for Saturday morning, it's pretty live. G'day. Welcome to the Art of Rock. It's Saturday morning, as you can tell from everybody's very excited attire and facial round makeup from last night. This is brought to you by ANGELSPIT'S. This is every Saturday, right here, right now. And even next Saturday, we're going to have a brief one while we're doing a very important live stream for Adam, but we're going to get to that a bit more later. So every Saturday, we're here. Join us, please, and we're going to talk about the craft of creating music and everything involved with creating music. It's always amazing fun. This is brought to you by ANGELSPIT'S Twitch for $3 a month. $3 a month. You can help ANGELSPIT keep the madness going. Our new album is called The Bastard Gods. It is on BANDCAMP, and I am in the process of sending out CDs and T-shirts right now, today. That way is horror, because there's crap everywhere. I love it. Here's the big news. Next weekend, there's a big raid train going on for DJ Addambombb. And this is like super important. And I want you to make a note of that. Hold on, I don't know if that... I'm going to put the... there, we're going to try that one again. Boom. There it is. That's DJ Addambomb's raid. That's on the Facebook event page. I want you to be a part of that. I want you to watch that. It's going to go for like 48 hours or something. We might talk about that a bit later. But it's going to be super awesome, and it's going to rock supremely. And this is for Adam. There's some medical issues going on, and you know what American healthcare is like. So we got to help Adam, because Adam has helped ANGELSPIT and so many other bands. He's a bloody legend. And on the subject of bloody legendary, MTV TV is non-stop. This is Adam and Diana's project. And MTV TV, oops. Yep, there it is. Send them your video and they will play you. And the email there, if you've got a video, just email them and they will play you. If you're in a band, you are going to make audience by sending your stuff to MTV TV. If you're not in a band and you want to find a new band, I absolutely promise and guarantee you are going to find a band that you love. Within a few moments of watching the show. It is bloody awesome. Welcome to the Art of Rock. And when we're done here, we're actually going to raid on over to MTV TV. Welcome to the Art of Rock. I have had an epiphany, and you guys are welcome to turn your mics on, because I'm going to be throwing this open. So there was a Depeche Mode club last night. Yeah, that URL is for the event for the raid train, FYI. There's a Depeche Mode club last night in Hollywood, and I went, and it was great fun. And they were playing a bunch of 80s tracks, and firstly, when you listen to Depeche Mode next to other tracks of the 80s that were being generated at the same time, you can really see why Depeche Mode are kings. Their quality of production, their actual quality of music and everything, and lyrics, it's just really, they stood out, and they still do. Yesterday I spent the day banging my head against the wall, fighting with a zip disk. My zip drive crashed, so I can't go from the zip drive to the emulator 4 and the USB, the K2000. So if anybody's got a iOmega 100 USB that they want to sell me, please let me know. So instead I went on to the Emaxes, and I had this epiphany yesterday, and listening to Depeche Mode. And the thing about this is about hardware. This is about using hardware to make music. And it's really fascinating, because you can use your laptop and everything is so much faster, and that's great. Speed's great. But the thing I realized yesterday is, because everything takes so much longer with hardware, you get time to think. You get time to really test sounds and really decide whether they're working or not. And I think for me at least, it's why working with hardware is so much better, because, you know, like I said, it can take you 10 minutes on a plugin. It might take you an hour on an Emacs. But during that hour on the Emacs is going to throw a whole bunch of issues at you that you need to figure out, like size, like storage, like the sound gets crunchy. You can't just time stretch the sound. You've got to work it out. Like if there's a beat, if there's a sample with a rhythm in it and it's got music in it, that might end up being drastically out of tune. But that's what the sound is, and that adds to the craziness. And a lot of that craziness is lost because you go time compress and also pitch correct. So there it is, fitting perfectly. And you did that in like 3 minutes, in 2 minutes, in 1 minute, in 30 seconds, in whatever, on your laptop. So I was listening to, Depeche Mode on the floor, and I was listening to the massive intricacies that are happening in the music and in the samples and in the sound design. And so, man, I've been listening to these tracks for like 30, 40 years. And hearing them loud, there's stuff I heard that I've never heard before. Little tiny fragments of other parts of the songs just put in there. And that wasn't the DJ, it was like a hands-off DJ. But it was really, really interesting how much work went into those tracks. And, there's the other question is it really worth, hi Charles, welcome, is it really worth doing that? Do people hear? Do people want to hear? Well, my answer to that is this band is great, and I don't use great lightly. They are great because of those details and intricacies. So that's my rant. If anybody else wants to jump in about this, specifically about hardware in music or the process of taking more time, because we live in a time that it's like, get it out now. And I'm always fighting with that. Like, if a track, I don't know, I'm going to stop ranting. Alex, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Go.
I have to say that I too really like the downtime sometimes, because it really gives me time to rethink and breathe. And also, if something takes like 3 minutes or 2 minutes, then you tend to be more careful what you do. But also, it's I really enjoy having like a physical interface. Having said that, I think it's like a different strokes for different folks thing. Depending on how your brain works, you prefer one way or the other and get better results one way or the other. But since I grew up with physical instruments, I really enjoy playing on hardware, and I feel much more creative, because if I have the constraints of the box, I tend to think of what I can't do instead of being like lost in a blank page, having possibility to do anything I could think of, and I think of nothing.
It's interesting because, like, when I was working on this new ANGELSPIT'S track yesterday, I actually ended up turning off the computer. I ended up turning off the door, and I just had the Emacs on, and I just spent 2 or 3 hours programming sounds and getting samples and setting them and placing them across the keyboard and all that jazz. And it's always interesting that the idea itself was very simple but strong. But when you throw an Emacs into it with a whole bunch of samples, specifically samples that may not be in tune like a synthesizer is in tune, like they may have a lot of overtones, a lot of harmonics, a lot of something going on, and as you move that key, those harmonics and other notes are going to move with it, so you're creating something amazing, which incidentally is something Depeche Mode did a lot. That's it. Rez, go.
I don't know exactly which way to go with this, because I'm thinking of two kind of completely different categories of things that you're talking about. So I guess, like, for me, Violator is our studio reference disc in the way that Steely Dan Asia is also, perhaps, for some people, or was. It's the one that you can sort of reliably put on any speakers, and you know the album well enough. I think most of us probably do, from close listening and reading of what's going on in there, to make an assessment about the speaker system in the room, because the music is something you know so well, so you can hear how it's being influenced. So, for 20, 30 years, however long it's been, 1990, yeah, a lot of years. It's we've had time to get to know it, and I think more than even enjoying the music that's in it, I've come to rely on it as a reference tool in that way, which is a little bit weird. But some of the elements that I'm not sure they come from Flood and the band's collaboration, but the use of studio hardware to achieve these things. Arrangement is there, the songwriting is there, you hear Gore's guitar and vocal versions of things, and you understand how they got to those points. But there's this huge expansion that goes in from these, like, clearly that reverb is on an auxiliary throw. It's not part of the sound. Clearly that bringing in that layer of room tone or ambience on that drum kit in this verse when it comes in, that's on an automation kind of thing. It wasn't part of the songwriting. And that kind of, like, collaboration among people and piecing together your songwriting skills with the hardware that you perform it on and the studio effects and outboard gear and skills, like that's kind of like a whole expansive way some of that magic and getting lost in the presets editing can happen. And so that's direction one that I was sort of thinking. And then the other idea is, Alex, you mentioned also playing instruments that don't have a counterpart in the studio. And although sampled piano is kind of a solved problem, there is this week I've been spending a lot of time with just the piano playing into a tube preamp and an optical compressor, along with the microphone in the room for vocals, doing the same thing, tubes, optical. Goes into the DAW, but exploring some of the ways that the inharmonicities and crud that particular piano makes, being I'm the one that tuned it, and physics sort of dictate how well it can be tuned because of the size of the strings and stuff. There's a whole lot of influencing from the sound that the thing's making that changes the performance, and if it doesn't result in something that's like a final product, it is an experience. It is a world of what I think maybe a lot of studio bound people experience. Like, that's the place to get lost in these sort of analog moments of discovery and interaction, something that happens between the tone sources and the processing gear and the touching it and changing levels and listening and reacting to how that changes and stuff. So there's a lot to say about, it's fun to play with the knobs and make stuff a little bit distorted.
It is. Hold on, I want to just quickly pimp again. Every few minutes I'm going to be pimping this. Yeah, it is. It's really interesting. Like, I've seen a lot of videos of Depeche Mode in the album, because it comes back to, I want to write music of that magicness. And there are so many people talking. There are so many people throwing ideas in. There is so much healthy conversation I really like. And like you said, having someone to really scratch their chin and think about that reverb, that's just so magical. It's yeah, I always yeah, I do miss that. I miss that so much, of just, hey, what would happen if we took a bar out of that the build up? It's normally a 4-bar build up. What if we added 2 more bars? And we pushed at it. That's stuff like that. Like having a conversation about what happens if we. Yeah. But that's part of why Depeche Mode are really amazing is Alex.
I think part of it is also like very talented people coming together and working with very experienced professionals who know what they're doing, working on really good equipment, which can also bring the magic. I think one single mind in one frenzy having a go on a DAW can also have a certain kind of magic, but it's another kind of magic and not the same.
Well, like, it's like last week when you were talking about you had an experience after a rehearsal, and it was this magical melding of minds. I've actually never really had that. I may have had it a few times in a studio. Predominantly, I have that live, or in rehearsals and stuff. But you can tell that, when you listen to the Beatles or the Stones or Depeche Mode, well, Beatles or Depeche Mode, you can tell that a lot of the magic happened as well after it was written, after the sounds were programmed and all that happened. Magic happened then in the studio where they went, okay, well, what happens if we... yeah, fantastic. I love it. Did you want to keep talking because your hand's up, or will I throw it to the resonator?
Yes, sometimes it's also a thing of knowing your band members very well and knowing how they work and knowing how to work best with them.
Awesomeness.
Of course, unfortunately nowadays everyone can afford band members, but if you can, it can be really great. Unless they're playing yes.
For sure. Razzie.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like being in the room working on something with people who are smarter than you about a thing or better, more skills, have an experience that you've never had, and you just like get this information and learn it and own it, and now it's something that you can do also. Like that's definitely part of what's exciting about doing music, and perhaps that's the distinction, Carl, that you're making between working on a VST and working on a piece of hardware, which also I wanted to sort of probe that. Alex, you just touched on it. Like, obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious, but I think we've all spent so many thousands of hours working with the DAW as an extension of our thinking and a way to affect ideas to manifest. Like, you can't deny that it's as much of a manipulatable tool as the other things. But Carl, what are you putting up as the main distinction between working on a piece of hardware and working on a piece of software emulation of the same thing?
I have minimal experience with working with software emulations, and I think my experience with it has been not exciting. And for some reason, when I work with hardware, specifically old hardware, shit goes wrong. And it's in those moments of shit going wrong is something awesome happens. Or it can happen, like there's something unexpected in there. That there are so many... It's the limitations. It's so many limitations. And it's the thing about the Emacs is that it's the sound. The sound of an Emacs is just so good, and there's just something dirty and gritty, and the minute you do it, the song just becomes either fucking rough and tough and ready for a knife fight, or it becomes this beautiful, huge ambient thing. Because I'm either doing Angelspit or Ice Planet 9000, like hardcore cyberpunk. It's not really hardcore, but hard, aggressive music and relaxing, chill out, ambient music. It's the mistakes, it's the times to do stuff. It is physically going in there, and it's the time spent. And maybe you're right. You are throwing the idea off another being, and it's always going to throw something back at you. I mean, maybe it's just a case of there are software plugins out there that will emulate an emulator or emulate an Emacs, but I haven't found them yet. And even if I did find them, I probably wouldn't really be very interested in them anyway. It's about the process. That's what it comes down to. Because at the end of the day, not many people are going to hear the difference between an Emacs emulation or an emulator 2 emulation. There's more of them around, and a real emulator 2. It's about the magic of the beast in the room, and how you react with it. You know, I have people who can sit down at a really crappy Roland piano, a Roland electric piano, like they're crap, and bang out a hit on that thing, and it's got to be that machine, because that's the machine that they've imbued all their magic into. When they sit down at something else, it's just not there. And you know, like you said, each to their own. But I don't know. It's just a very, and you know, there's going to be people who say, I need that software, I need that plugin. That plugin, you know, I is it Razor or Massive or something? You know, I still know people who use whatever that software is, the synth one.
Oh.
Yeah,
Massive is the most famous one, but my favorite is Razor.
Yeah. And people who'll still go, I can only use version 1 because it was my favorite. There's magic in version 1. And, you know, I'm a similar way with certain multiband compressors and multiband distortion units. I only use version 1 because I don't like the sound of the other versions. So there it is on a laptop happening again. It's all an instrument. Alex, hit me with wisdom.
I was thinking about how at the moment I came close to that hardware feeling when I was working with software. The first one was when I was learning Ableton Live. I just had a demo version. I was just messing about with it, not even wanting to make a song, but just trying to put the system to an extreme, just modulating the shit out of every parameter without reason. And that sometimes sounded really great, and I sometimes want to go back to that, but I sort of can't because I'm too goal focused sometimes. So I think if I just were to go to sound design hell, it would be better. And the other time is when I use my hardware sequencers to sequence the software and its parameters. That always gives me this feeling of excitement. And somehow this way of like two machines not communicating within one system, but via a MIDI cable, gives me like this, I don't know, it feels special.
For sure. Yeah, man, I totally get it. And it's all about that output. It's all about you allowing yourself to have fun. I think that's the whole, you know, thing I'm talking about here. It's about, I don't know why, I still have so much trouble with, okay, you're allowed to have fun. Turn on your synthesizers and have fun, or boot up your DAW and pull in your favorite soft synth. Have fun, muck around and create something. You're allowed to. Here comes a rant. Maybe it's because I'm just so distracted, and I'm just so distracted, and I'm. Adam says, funny enough, this is why the reason I like Reason so much, says Addambombb. I feel that I can get a lot of character out of soft synths because of the way Reason is designed, and it's designed really well, sure. I find it much more visceral than, say, Fruity Loops or Ableton for actual creative and serious play is an important discovery. Totally agree. And that's Adam, and by the way, every 3 minutes. Next weekend, hit that Facebook events, and we are doing a massive stream for Mr. Adam, and it's going to be awesome. But yeah, and it's like I find that I'm still trying to be aware of when I've lost the plot. Like, I don't know, people, can I rant? Can I ask you guys a totally off topic? And then I want to talk about this stream. I want to talk about this stream later, because this is important. You know, in your day job, do you find that you just go, fuck this, I want to play solitaire? Like, because I haven't had a day job in like 20 years. So I just don't know. And is it just me struggling with this focus and, everything else? And that's why maybe that's why I love hardware synthesizers is because mine aren't connected to the internet. And I throw my phone the hell over there, so I can't hear it, see it, or interact with it. But yeah, I don't know. That is a conversation right there, and we could go into that conversation, or we could. Rezzy, go.
This cat. Yeah, I mean that's like a deeply complicated thing, and I think that sensation manifests very differently for different people too. Like, I have days where there's no day job for sure that I still can't get focus and concentration. There's days when I don't have any other distractions that would draw me away from being in the studio, and I still can't get into it. There's certainly days where I'll sit down finally after a long day of outside work and be really focused in the studio. I remember the last time I had a go to work kind of all day job, I got just as much studio time done as when I didn't have it. It was just, I sat around all day diligently performing to, the standards that were expected of me at the job, but then, doing all the same intensity and quality of work that I expected of myself in the evening. And it was possibly that anticipation was healthy. I'm not going to say it wasn't. I don't know what really coincides. I think, like I said, it's so different for every single person, and what you're describing might not even be exactly what I'm talking about there too. But there's how to bring this back to what you're referring to. There's possibly a finite but expandable amount of good effort you can put in the same way that you're spending your amount of focus, spending your amount of attention, spending your amount of willpower that's necessary to get to that flow state, the high challenge but high skill area stuff that you're good at but is still difficult to do, stuff that you know that you can achieve at, but it requires your skills and it demands of you. So I think that kind of what I'm saying is I think part of what the goal is to get to that place where there's the world kind of goes away and the work and you are kind of one, and you're not thinking about it consciously, but it's just happening and you're doing it. And I think what it makes me think of is, how do we get more of that? How much of it can we do, and is it really exercisable so that you can do more of that in a day and become a person that gets there more? And it actually ties into some other prompts and questions that I had in my notes about this, but I think leaving it at maybe open-ended, everybody must have some experience with what you're talking about, and my hope is that it does ebb and flow, and if I feel like I've been at a low for a few years, maybe I can try real hard and apply more exercise to the willpower quantity and give more of it and be able to get into the flow state more.
Yes. Totally. Actually, meditating and getting into the flow state is that's such a huge thing. I really want to talk about that, but I want to talk about the Addambombb gig before we talk about that, because that's going to be a rant, and I want to make sure we have time to talk about Adam's gig. But first, here's Alex.
I sort of missed the time when my first instinct was to power on my MPC instead of going to YouTube when I'm bored, or picking up my electric bass. I think some of it is that it was just right there, almost beside my bed, because I just had one room as a teenager. So it was like just, and I'm creating something. And and also like there's much more internet than there used to be. So much stuff to keep you from the things you maybe want to do. And I think that's also part of it. Yeah.
It's really interesting, you say that is exactly it, that you go, ironic, Adam, as you're going to jump in, we're going to talk about this live show, but it's really interesting how just it's interesting how it's like I'm gonna play a game or I'm gonna play YouTube as opposed to I'm gonna fucking make music. Okay, what I want to do is I want to put that in the back pocket when I come back to it. But right now, what I really want to talk about is this prestigious, amazing gig that is happening next weekend, September 16 and 17. And I apologize, we should have talked about this first. This is going to be so amazing, and I'm super excited about this. So keep those dates, and there's a GoFundMe, so everyone just chuck your money in there. Diana, do you want to tell us about it? Because it's such an, it's going to be huge.
Okay, there we go. It's a raid train starting September 16th, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. DJs from around the Twitch universe, Saturday through Sunday night, into the wee hours of Monday morning, all raising funds for DJ Addambombb, who needs some lung surgery, life-saving lung surgery, and he needs our help. And I am amazed at the DJs that are from around the world helping to raise funds for Adam, because, well, we live here in the U.S. and funds for medical things are not easily obtained all the time. If you want to add on that, Carl.
Yeah, no, that'll end up in a huge political rant. But I will say, yeah, it's going to be awesome. There's so many, like, who's on the bill, and how are you going to keep this down to 48 hours?
I've been just asking DJs if they want to help. If you give me a moment here and I can look at my, we've got, well, Adam is going to be in on his own raid stream for an hour. But we've got Anthony H. We've got Jen Dagger. We've got the Tans Machina crew from Salt Lake City helping. We've got George from Black Rose Burning is going to do a set. Mix, Matt Hart, Blue Ant. It's a big. I'm blown away by the people that want to help.
This is so awesome. Yeah, this is great. And that Facebook, I'll put it up here again. That event has got all the details, and keep an eye on it because I know the details they're forever evolving because this is a big thing.
Yes, I'm updating today as I've been doing that while we've been talking. So I'm amazed at the people that are helping, and this is going to be an amazing event.
Yeah.
I'm blown away.
It's going to be bloody fantastic. And the link to the GoFundMe, it is there now, right?
Right now it's a PayPal, working on a GoFundMe this weekend.
Great. Well, the PayPal or the GoFundMe will be there because this is all about throwing money at Mr. Adam so we can keep this going.
To help with his medical bills.
Yeah. We've got to keep... Yeah. Okay, so did you guys want to jump in about that and or talk more about that? Resi, go.
Just in general, it's great to have an opportunity to do something for someone, especially somebody who has been meaningful in your life for so many decades. So, I mean, I'm definitely showing up. Gonna go there, do something. I don't know how my contribution is gonna work out because I'm completely unfamiliar with most of what Twitch does and how it operates. Although, and I've said it before, the couple of times that I've jumped in to DJs doing stuff in the goth industrial underground electronic scene on Twitch, it's like the community is unbelievable. The people, the support, the interchange of viewership, the variety of how people are presenting their DJ setups, the decor and costume that goes into presenting these things, also, and the tech. It's kind of a cool world. Actually, I don't need to couch it. It's a fucking amazing world, and if that's where we're meeting Adam, I say, what a great place to go.
Speak of the Adam himself, it's the man. How you doing, Adam? And it's technical fun time.
Yeah, good. Okay, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, hi.
So do you want to throw in about this craziness next weekend?
Well, I've been tuned in over here on the Twitch, and I'm so humbled. I really am. I can't. My how do I even begin to find the words for this, man? Like, my mind is absolutely blown. Diana, of course, being the mastermind that she is, and getting together with everybody. I mean, I didn't know you all cared so much. I mean, like, I did, but you know what I mean? Like, I've never been the person who wants, I've always been on the other side of these things, right? Where it's like, I'm like, oh shit, somebody in our scene needs some help, and so, trying to rally to the cause and stuff. It's kind of weird being on this side. It's incredibly humbling. I am really glad that I've been able to, keep doing these things that we do. And, I'm incredibly grateful to the universe to allow me to, touch and be touched by the lives that I have, because I mean, let me tell you, if y'all think that I've touched your lives, you should see what you've done to mine. I'm just completely blown away, and I have to apologize to Diana too, because the reason the GoFundMe isn't set up yet is my fault. I've just had a really fucking rough week, man. Yeah, like the treatment is the treatments are keeping me down as much as the disease. So
we got you, dude.
Pretty rough.
We've got you.
The other thing about it too is, like, I mean, I realize, I have this problem that, like, when things aren't right, or I'm not feeling well or whatever, I'm the one who retreats, and I'm kind of like, leave me alone. Like, I just want to distance myself from people and stuff, and so I have to extra appreciate y'all keeping me in the game. Even it's like, we were just talking a few minutes. I'm gonna shift the conversation back to flow, because you all were just talking about that a few minutes ago, and like, you are the ones who have been keeping me in the flow. Now, I mean, admittedly, because of my condition, I haven't had the wherewithal or the ability to sit down and spend the amount of time that I would like to working on creative things. I have to do everything in very small bits, sort of in my little windows where it doesn't hurt so much, and I don't feel like shit as much, or whatever it is, as much, because the baseline is a high level of suck for me at this point. But you all are the ones that are keeping me involved. As Rozzy was just saying, like, the Twitch scene is an amazing thing. It's like something that we when the pandemic started and we all had to make that great shift from what we were doing to the next thing, it was an amazing thing to see, and to see it to see it happen in the first place. And now, even though there are venues and events and stuff happening again, there's still a huge Twitch community. And one of the things that I don't think I ever realized about clubbing is how unfriendly it really is to the mobility impaired. I mean, we're very fortunate in that, like, you know, the club that I was running, we had an elevator, right? So, wasn't bad for people in chairs or with mobility issues and that kind of thing. But nightclubs are not the friendliest environment. It's sometimes it's not the place itself, but even just getting there for people is the really difficult thing, and there's a lot of us in this dark dance scene that, well, none of us are getting any younger, right? But there's a lot of us that are getting quite a bit older, and so one of the things that I have found very, very interesting about the Twitch thing, just in general, is how much more accessible it is to people, and that there are a lot of people out there who can't make it to the clubs. Right now, I'm one of them, that love the fucking club scene, and we couldn't. There's no other time in history that we could have been doing the things that we're doing now, or even haven't evolved them to this point. And so, what really makes me want to stick around, instead of just like, what keeps me going and what keeps me positive through all of this shit, is just that sense of not wanting to miss anything. I still have that fear of missing out, I guess. I don't want to miss what's going to happen in the future because I want to see it. I would like to be a part of it, and y'all are the ones that, doing things like Art of Rock, doing things like the DJ shows, doing things like MTV TV. I think we're utilizing Twitch in this really incredible way, and we're making the scene more accessible in a whole new way, and we're experimenting with the things that we can do with it. I just can't. I mean, not for nothing, I can't wait to see what cool shit people come up. Like, please keep thinking about cool shit that you can do with Twitch, because it is like so much better. I just think it's the greatest thing in the world. It's like, we have this, it's live, and we can do a performance, or we can watch a movie together, or whatever it is. But it's live, it's visual, it's television, but it's chat. It's social media, and that's entirely what it is. It's social media. It's different from YouTube, where you can just, like, 3 o'clock in the morning YouTube rabbit hole or whatever it is. Like Twitch, it's like you have to tune in to catch it. It's like what TV used to be, right? If you miss it, you miss it. And that's one of the things that I love about it, because that's one of the things that I've always loved about going to live music performances and to nightclubs, and to parties and to events and to art shows and things, because if you're not there, you miss it. You don't get to see it. And presence is required. And so that's one of the things that I find really incredible about Twitch, is that we have found a way now that we can give that presence to people who are otherwise unable to go and experience it in real life, or at a distance around the fucking world. It's amazing. All right, so thanks for letting me have the soapbox, and thank you so much for everything that y'all are doing. And I really appreciate it. I mean, I got a lot of shit ahead of me. I got a long recovery time ahead of me. Even after the surgery, I'm going to be on antibiotics for at least a year.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a really weird disease. It's a mycobacterial infection, non-tuberculosis mycobacterial infection, so nobody else can catch it from me. It happens to be a particularly weird one that only people that have previous lung scarring issues get, and since I've had previous lung surgery, it found me, and it's everywhere. It's called malmoense, and it's like literally everywhere. It's in the dust, it's in the water, it's in the dirt. You're breathing probably some molecules of it right now, but I just got lucky, I guess, and got the right face full of dust at the wrong time, and it found a happy home in me. The one thing that I'm really one of the things that I'm really glad about with my situation is that nobody else can get this from me. Even if you have had lung surgery, you're not going to get it from me. The only way that you could get it would be the same way I got it, breathing it in. It's kind of a weird one. And yeah, so they're going to have to take out about a quarter of my lung because I have some nice holes. I have two big holes that are like the size of shooter marbles, and there are three other smaller ones that are like the size of playing marbles. But this disease is quite literally turning my lung to Swiss cheese. The good news is that after what has it been, about 5 months of heavy antibiotic treatments, my house is covered in pills and medical supplies right now. The infection is no longer growing, and the holes aren't getting any bigger. So that's the good sign. So the next step is going to be surgery. What they've been trying to do is get the infection back enough that they can do the surgery so that the surgery itself won't get infected. It's pretty sick stuff. They got to take a muscle out of my back and put it into my chest to fill the gap where they're taking it out. So yeah, so it's going to be a long recovery time. And then about a year of antibiotics. It's they don't consider it gone until it tests clear for a certain amount of time. So it could be longer than a year and a half, 2 years, who knows, but it's going to be probably about a year. But yeah, so that's the update. Needless to say, I've been going through a lot of weird shit on the besides, because stuff like a few weeks ago I ended up in the hospital because my white cell count had plummeted, and so my body went into a crisis. It was really miserable, incredibly painful. I ended up back in the hospital this week. Thankfully it wasn't the crisis, but but I'm sure glad that I did, because at this point, what my doctor said is, well, you're sick. So a lot of weird shit happens. The handful of times that you all see me, it's like I'm kind of like, okay, right now I'm in this window where like the painkillers are working. That's what I'm going to do tonight too, right? Is like making those windows for myself where I can, where I'm clear enough and not in as much pain, and that I can manage to do things like this, like doing the DJ show tonight in these windows. That's how I'm doing everything, right? Most of the time I am laying on the couch trying to sleeping, or just in pain. It's been a pretty rough go. But anyway, enough about me. I just want to say thank you again for everything, and for your concern, and but that's kind of the state of the nation. Is I'm sick. I'm going to be sick for a long time. The one other thing is that I've been fighting with disability for trying to get disability assistance for like 3 years now, fighting really hardcore for the last 8 months, and I've been denied. And so I'm kind of going through this appeals process now, which I really just don't have the energy for, especially the closer that I get to surgery, and and when I have that surgery, I don't know how long I'm going to be. I mean, it's going to be a few weeks before anybody really hears from me. And going to be hospitalized for at least a week, probably 2. But anyway, that's the state of the nation, and that's I've been really struggling to keep my nose above water here, and and I am really grateful that like I said, that we're able to keep doing the things that we do. Most of that is dependent on Diana. If it weren't for Diana's mind, and all the work that she does, none of the things that we're doing would be able to happen. You know, like her managing all the, quite literally the day-to-day of everything makes it possible for me to manage the creative and the specialized sort of stuff. And so, you know, again, all the credit to Diana, truly, for keeping these things happening.
Yeah, bless you both. And just if there are any bands watching, I'm putting a link in here right now. This is the link and this is the blurb. And I want everyone, if you do a Twitch stream, I want you to pimp this. I want you to push it. Because everyone's got to get behind this.
And MTV wants some music.
I lost you. Say that again?
I'm interrupting because I'm saying an MTV TV wants your music videos. That's where I thought you were going.
No. I'm talking about the gig.
If there's any bands watching.
If there are any bands watching and you've got a stream, if you've got a stream, I want you to pimp this Twitch Ray Train, because the terrifying thing to remember is that it's Adam, and we love Adam, and we're behind Adam. But if you're in America, this is something that is terrifying, and it's in the back of all of our minds that this could happen to you. So the dice is rolled, and unfortunately Adam got the bad card, so we're going to help him out. And I hope this doesn't happen to you, but if it does happen to you, know that our community will do everything it can to keep you going and to make those fucking medical bills not as painful. So we're helping out Adam because he fucking deserves it. It's your time now, Adam. We love you so much, man. I'm just going to throw this over to Alex, who wants to say something brilliant. Go.
I was wondering how exactly it works. Are there different DJs who rate each other? And it's okay. I see. Is there a way to know when you have to tune into which DJ, or is it hosted on the MTV TV page, or what's the strategy?
I will be posting the DJ list along with their Twitch URLs to link, and I will put the times that's being worked on this weekend. I'll have a full schedule in that Facebook event page, and possibly be posting it in other spots too, working on that.
Awesomeness. You rock. Thank you. Rezi, what you got?
I would say feel free to just take a pass on this if it's going to be the wrong kind of rant. But I'm really curious. I have experience with being long-term disability recipient in the 90s, and I lost track once I got off it and back into the regular work and get paid world. What changed between then, when it didn't seem like people were having such a struggle to get proper disability compensation and care, and today, when all I hear is people having to fight for it and hire lawyers just because they need it rather than because something went wrong, and that it's always a struggle? Is there a concise answer for that, or is that a 2-hour topic?
Personally, I think it's a scam. I truly do. I think it's a scam. I feel like because I literally have this letter here, and it says if you want help with your appeal, you can hire a lawyer. And this is from disability. This is from Social Security. I feel like it's a scam at this point. Like, and I completely. So if I can rant for 4 seconds, like what is happening is people that need help are not getting help. They're being told that they're not disabled enough, right? They're being told that that Well, I mean, it comes down to these really ephemeral reasons. Oh, we didn't get the records from. Well, you didn't make the records request from. We live in a paperless society. It's 2023. It should be a click of the button. 8 months. I thought. I had a disability determination service. My caseworker, right? I hate the motherfucker. I want to beat him with a fucking stick because he lied to me. I caught him lying to me. He lied to me again. I caught him lying to me. His supervisor's no fucking better. And the problem is systemic. They don't even realize they have a problem. On the flip side of that, there is a new ombudsperson in the MRC, in the Massachusetts Resource Council. Now, they're not Social Security, but they are the overseeing agency of DDS, which is this is another thing, is that Social Security basically subcontracts their determination services to state agencies. And so you have to go through the state agency first to then get denied by Social Security. And so that's what I've been working on for literally the last 3 years, and especially this last 8 months since I got my diagnosis. And mind you, this is on top of all the spine crap. I mean, my spinal cord is effed. I have to walk with a cane now, I have constant, I mean, everything on my left side and below my waist hurts all the time. But yeah, I'm not disabled enough, even though I haven't been able to leave my house for 4 months because I have this IV thing. Right. I'm not disabled enough. There's some way that I'm supposed to be able to adapt into a working situation, even though I'm only awake like a few hours a day at best. I don't know. I think it's a scam.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for your insight. I haven't heard anybody break it down. I've only heard the sort of kind of public complaints. But yeah, I'm sorry you're going through that. It's really not how it should work.
No, clearly. It's not. And you're right. Everybody is going through this. Like there's talk all over social media about it. When I talked to the new ombudsperson, she was like, I'm hearing this story over and over again, and my story happens to be a particularly extreme one. Where the failure has been. I mean, I don't know. I'm just fucking lucky, I guess, that I get the most extreme failures through this whole situation. But but yeah, what it really boils down to, and I think the most frustrating. This is why I'm pursuing it beyond myself, is because there are people that aren't getting help, that don't have the ability to fight that I still have.
That really it hits it right on the nail there, or the nail right on the head there, in that the people who need it are often, if not always, beyond burdened with the condition that they're already dealing with. And to add complexity and suggest you can hire counsel right in the paper, rather than have a system that nurtures and supports you as a person asking for help, for fuck's sake. It's like, so it's kind of crazy. And again, thanks for pointing out some of the stuff that you're specifically dealing with. It's
the other
crazy
problem.
Making.
The other problem there is there's no oversight. They oversee themselves, therefore they're fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
This is something that people need to know about, and people need to know that that this is why this GoFundMe is happening. That your nation has failed you, as it has failed so many people, and now it's we the people who are keeping our community going. Everybody else in every other country in the world is watching this going, seriously? What the fuck?
I mean, there are places worse than this, but...
Yeah, but they're not a superpower.
They don't brag as fucking hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, this is a great time for our community to get together and help you. So...
At least I don't have to wear this fucking thing anymore.
That's a back brace?
Yeah, where does that go?
A neck brace?
Yeah, from when my spine collapsed. And I had the surgery. what was that now? Almost 2.5 years ago? No, it was a year and a half. It was a year and a half ago that I had the surgery. So 2.5 years since the collapse disc. Yeah. Yeah, I got this really cool. But yeah, well, so it was Diana that turned me on to the black covers, for the thing. So the whole time that I was wearing this, I could wear a high collared jacket or something. I mean, I was wearing, we went to the Man Ray opening. I was still wearing this thing, and I wore a pasha around it, right? So it was like, not so obvious, right? But yeah, I've been, I was wearing this thing for like, I mean, I really, just kind of got to the point where I could keep my head up on its own, like, was it probably around like February or March or so, where I was finally like, I don't need to wear the fucking thing all the time. I kind of weaned myself off. It was definitely by like April I had it off, I think.
Perfect.
But it was a long time, man. Like I had this thing on for like 15 months. Yeah, I still can't look up. If I look up, I will fall over backwards. Yeah, I still can't look, like I still can't turn my head very well. Yeah. So like yeah. It's it's strangely dangerous just to be alive right now. It's like strangely dangerous just to be alive right now. I don't just mean for me, I mean for like everyone.
Yeah.
And talking about malmoense, this mycobacterial infection. So one of the things, my pulmonologist is actually really excited by this whole thing because, like, this is his bag. This is the stuff that he writes, but this is like why he does what he does, right? So, and I was talking to him about this several weeks ago, and I was like, so what do you think about all this with the COVID stuff? Because a lot of people with the lung scarring and stuff, he's like, yeah, this is going to become a serious issue in the next few years.
People are more susceptible if they've had previous scarring, and this is the case. Okay, gotcha.
And COVID just creates the scarring in your lungs. This is part of why I'm not supposed to go outside. It's why I'm not supposed to go anyplace. I'm not supposed to be around. Like I'm not allowed to go to the grocery store. I have a friend who's helping me with my shopping. Thank you, Alyssa. Because I'm not. I mean, I've broken it a couple of times just out of necessity, but like, I'm not really allowed to be around other human beings right now, because if I get COVID, I'm probably done for. They don't want me catching a flu or anything. I mean, it would certainly create enough problems that they would probably have to postpone the surgery, and that would make it worse, and then they'd have to take out more. So it's a very fine balance at this point. And the other problem, I mean, it took them literally a year to figure out what it was. I had to, much testing, biopsy, the whole 9 yards. That's a surgical biopsy. They put you under, they put the tube down your throat, they go in, you take a bunch of little pieces out. I was under for the. Yeah, so the thing that I'm very, very fortunate about is that I have a really great team. One of the advantages of living in Massachusetts is that we are the place that brain drains every place else because of the education out here, and we have some of the best schools and the best hospitals and the best experts.
Adam, I think that's a really important point to underscore. Is the problem here is not the doctors, it's not the medical science, it's not the enthusiasm and genuine. I've seen it also firsthand.
No, my doctors.
The investment that
great.
The practitioners have in this stuff is true, like flow state excitement. Like this is what they do. This is what they live for. That's not where the problem is.
No,
I think.
No, you're totally right. No, it is a red tape bureaucracy issue. Of the type that I mean, to be perfectly honest, it's like you start to see where Atlas Shrugged came from. You know what I'm saying? When you start, like, these ineffectual bureaucrats that the buck never lands on their desk. It's hot potato. And nobody. This is another problem. Is just find. I've spent the last 8 months. I have reams of phone numbers here, like and notes and stuff that I've because I've been just trying to find anybody who's responsible for oversight of these departments. There is none. There is none. Like you would think somebody's got a boss somewhere, but it's not. It's like some commissioner or some shit. And it's like, it's literally just like some little thing that they check mark on their list every day. Did I call this phone number today? It's a commissioner. And so it's like they don't have any actual oversight or day-to-day interaction with this. So these agencies become self-contained. Right? How do I say this? I think it's a scam.
It's a scam. It's a ruined scam. And I think America deserves better than this. Sorry, Adam?
I said I don't think it's the only one, and I fully concur.
Yeah. So yeah, well, you know me, I'm all about this shit getting political, because God damn it, it is.
Technically, it's not a party, so we can talk politics.
Yeah, right. I think it is important that during this fundraiser, people are addressing this issue, because this issue is why we're having this, and so many others. Even in Breaking Bad, he's cooking meth so he can pay for medical bills because he has cancer. Like, yeah. Jesus Christ.
Actually, I just thought I hadn't thought about this for years. Rozzy, do you remember Substance? What we did way back in the, what was it, 01?
Absolutely.
We did 102, 03? Yeah, we did
fundraiser for
a series of fundraising benefit events. Yeah. The first one was for Jason Cohen when his studio got broken into, and the band Incus, their studio got broken into.
And Forrest, you did
yeah, we did for that was he was a bouncer in our scene, and like he went through this whole problem with medical bills and disability and all this bullshit. He got T-boned by a car while he was on his motorcycle and knocked off a bridge.
Holy shit.
This is exactly what came to mind, Adam, by the way, when we started talking about it. So, in that you have been involved on the other side, and you were making reference to that of putting together fundraisers.
It was 20
long time. I know.
But the whole point of that was really to try to raise awareness in the community that like we don't have a fallback. We don't get medical insurance when we're freelancers. We don't, in the club scene, like there is no full-time positions. The bartenders, the performers, the bouncers, everybody that makes these events happen. None of us have a social safety net. Which, if you want to talk politics, that would be what's her name that used to be our attorney general. Why can't I think of her name? I've only voted for her and talked about her a million times. But this is what the medicine does to me, is like, so I have this incredibly difficult time accessing what you call something sometimes. But anyway, Elizabeth Warren.
I tip of my tongue too.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren. A big part of her thing is social safety net issues. Unfortunately, she is fighting she is the salmon fighting the sharks coming downstream. You know what I mean? It's like, it's more than an uphill battle for Elizabeth Warren. I think, anybody that's probably aware of her career is probably aware of what she's dealt with a lot. She's a very tough and good person. Yeah, social safety net. Social safety net should be the biggest issue. Like, all this. We talk about distractions in the media. Most of it coming from the religious right. What do they say? Like, in the '70s, abortion was a Catholic problem. Now it's fundamentalist problem. And what we really ought to be focused on isn't the morality issues, religious morality issues. What we should be focusing on is the health and wellness and how that affects and contributes to society. A healthier society is a happier, better society. Like, no matter what, you're always going to have, there is no perfection, right? There is no utopian answer, right? There will always be some that slip through the cracks, some that don't make it. What we really need to be focused on and exerting our resources on as a civilization is minimizing that, because then you don't have these fucking school shooters, you don't have Unabombers, you don't have people flying planes into fucking buildings, you don't have whatever the next fucking horror is going to be. You don't have those things. You don't have divisions between straights and gays or blacks and whites, or because if everybody is experiencing this social support, there's no reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. I as usual, I have no solutions. I mean, who there may not be a solution. Maybe the best solution is maybe the best solution is fuck it.
It's funny.
I mean, it would be the best for the planet, but like for us though.
I just to bring it back to music, I got a review of the last album saying, yeah, it's another angry album from ANGELSPIT, and it's like there's so much to be fucking angry about. Like, the conversation today, that's an album. That's 20 or 30 albums worth of work, of fuel. And, I was trying in this one in this new album, like, I just released album number 11, now I'm working on album number 12, and I was thinking I want it, to be more stories, and, like Nick Cave. Those stories, but it just didn't go that way, because things, when I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning with a crazy idea, it's political, and it's saying shit's fucked and we need to fucking fix this. It's not his name was Harry, her name was Lucy, and they met while they were doing a bank job. It's not like that. I wish it was like that, or a murder ballad or something pretty, but it's not. Because man, I tell my parents about this shit, and they just can't believe it. Like, they have no... They do not... And it's like, they're going through similar stuff with their friends, but their friends are in their 80s. My friends are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, with... either they have healthcare or they don't have healthcare because they lost their job, and now... Don't get me started. It's the American problem, and we all know it, and I don't want to talk about that again. I am
really lucky that I'm in Massachusetts, because Massachusetts has a better social safety net, especially when it comes to insurance. We had Romney Care before the rest of the nation got Obamacare, and while Romney Care was not what we voted for, mind you, not what we voted for socialized health care like Canada. We got Romney Care, and so one of the upshots of that is that you pretty much can't be a Massachusetts citizen without insurance, because I have insurance because I got emergency insurance. It's the only reason that I have insurance. I didn't have, like, if I had had insurance through fucking Guitar Center, my previous employer, who, the reason I didn't have insurance through them was because of a screw up in their paperwork that was never caught by the mismanagement that I was dealing with there. But if I had had proper health care, we might have caught this a year, maybe 2 years sooner. You know, that a lot of the problems that I've had would have been found and dealt with before they became emergencies. And so while I do have emergency health care, it's emergency health care. You know? Like,
you know, fuck it, I'm putting my mic on. All we can do is we can help you, and the next one that comes along, we help them too. But right now, what I want to do is I want to talk about how do we take this energy and how do we turn it into music? Because we're using music as a vehicle to heal, and we're using music as a vehicle to pull our community together and to help each other out. And so that's critical important. And I'm glad you're here right now, Adam, because every time you and Rezi and Alex and Diana and myself are together, we talk about really good shit for the process of creating music, because it's music that keeps the tribe together. It's music that heals us. It's music that unites. But the problem we've got is that so many of us are having trouble doing that because we are so overwhelmed by everything that's going on right now. So I want to pull this back to making music, which is the great healer, I think.
we're going to save the world.
Yes, we are. But the problem that I think a lot of people are having is that exhaustion and everything else is causing them to just turn on YouTube and death scroll and everything else. So my question is this. What we were talking about before, and I said that's something I want to deep dive into.
That was the flow state, the
great
balance between challenge level and skill level.
Great. Okay. I want to talk about that, and it's we've now the conversation we've just had is extremely sobering. It is extremely important, and the fuel you need for the fire to make your music. Here it is. It's the grim reality. So let's talk about that flow state. And Adam, while you're here, we were talking about, you were talking about using reason and stuff. And I want to hear more about the process of turning this immense energy into music. Rant.
Okay, so changing gears.
Kind of, but go
yeah,
on.
Well, okay, so flow state. So Rossi, you just said. Could you repeat the sentence that you said a few minutes ago about what was it? A challenge between creative something and ability.
Yeah, the person I'm citing is Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, which is impossible to sound out from the way it's
yeah, thanks.
spelled. So I'm pasting it into the
American
chat here.
American. I'm not going to remember that.
Understood.
I have an American education.
Then the pretty chart that he has will be exactly up your alley, and it is goes from low to high in skills that you have. Challenge of the task. So something that takes very little of your skill and doesn't present a challenge would be apathy. You don't care about that. A little more skill, boredom, a lot of skill. That's relaxing. Something you're good at and doesn't have any challenge. Hey, I do this all day. It's kind of cool. Going up the other axis, if you have something that's requires a lot of your skill and is very challenging. Ooh, what quadrant is this? I'm not even thinking about the rest of the world. I'm using all of my skills. I'm synthesizing disparate ideas and formulating and creating, and the world has disappeared, and that's what he refers to as the flow state. And if there is a formula, it is accessed through high challenge, high skill. I buy into it. I think there's a lot of perhaps non-scientific but anecdotal veracity there. I think it's a nice way of describing that that way of meditation, that mindset change, that shift that seems to occur in what we, I think, may all seek in being a creative person, making things.
I love this, and I have a metaphor that I use for the same thing, which is in the jazz, and so what I say a lot, when I'm teaching, teaching DJing and such, I say that the most important thing, right, is practice, because like practice is what gives you those skill levels to get into the flow. And what I say is, so if you watch jazz musicians, right, which I love to do, I love jazz, as you know, I love jazz. So you watch these guys, and they have practiced their scales over and over and over and over and over again to the point that they can do them and undo them in any way that they want. And the reason that they practice the rote skills so much, again, this is what we might call rudiments, right? You practice the rote skills, the rudiments, and the reason that you practice these things is so that you can get into the creative flow of improvisation, right? So that when you're actually playing, you don't have to think about it. You are going, like, there's a gap between thought and action, right? And you're not, you're no longer interrupting that with thought, like with consciousness, like that it's happening deep in your creative mind, and before you can become conscious of it, you are acting, you are doing it, right? That is improvisation, and that is, I think, the most incredible place to be, right? And it is a very incredibly hard place to reach. I find it very hard to do this. One of the things that is very hard for me is singing, right? Like his, I get, singing, and so to get into a place where I can just fucking jam with my voice is not an easy thing to do, and I have to kind of scream and let it out a little bit so that I can get into the flow and like get past that conscious part. One of the places that I find myself really enjoying that, well, obviously now physical limitations, but scratching, right? It was a place where turntablism was a place that I could really be improvisational. It's like, with a fundamental set of rudiments that were, informing what I would be able to accomplish in that moment. Sometimes it's chunking maybe, and sometimes it's, but I call that getting into the jazz. And the way that we get into the jazz, like I said, is that repetitious, boring, old fucking, everybody hates doing it, practice. You gotta sit down and fucking practice, or you will never be able to achieve the creative state in which you can truly improvise.
Thank you, Adam. I overwhelmingly agree. It's, part of what I want to talk about, pin on there, is pushing through that wall. If there's a wall in your head that goes, fuck it, I want to watch YouTube, I want to play solitaire, I want to play computer games, whatever the fuck it is, I want to death scroll. Yeah. That's the wall.
It's like a little thing in our frontal lobe somewhere that, like,
yeah,
it's like the self-consciousness thing, and it's somewhere like in here.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the pleasure center versus the frontal lobe thing, and your pleasure center is and it's going, no, I don't want to practice. And actually, practice is a really great example of why it doesn't want to practice. It doesn't want to learn a language. It just wants to death scroll. It wants an immediate thing. And the more you feed it, the stronger it gets. The more neurological power is going into feeding it. and the less is going into your frontal lobe, which is saying, no, we've got to practice, we've got to learn a language, we have to think about tomorrow, we have to think about next week, next year. And your pleasure center, and that part of your brain is called the pleasure center, goes, no, fuck it. I just want to fucking play fucking solitaire. And that's why I think it's really important to have lists on your fridge, on your monitor, post-it notes that say, bored, turn off the fucking computer and practice. Boredom feeds boredom. Boredom feeds boredom. And that's why, there's too much entertainment / for me, talking about me now, there's just too much other crap I can be doing. And then when I stop doing it, my brain always feels depleted and mush and broken and hurt and angry and bitterly disappointed at myself every single time I do whatever it is that I'm doing. And I come out of it going, it's like you fall asleep and then you wake up an hour later and you've been playing Galaxians. And it's like, and hey man, don't get me wrong, there's a time for your brain to turn off. It is important to have that routine where you turn your brain off. But man, sometimes pick up that damn guitar and play friggin' scales. Like you said, man, practice. God damn it, practice. Just let yourself go. Rezi, talk to me.
I was, just a little anecdote. I was engineering a session with a metal band, and the singer and I were just going on and on about first-person shooters or whatever our preferences were for video games and how much time we'd invested in characters or whatever, grinding for gold, that kind of topic. And the other engineer was just sitting there kind of like slack-jawed, not really involved in the conversation or anything. He's like, and this is a guy who, he's a great horn player, Barry Sachs. I'd seen video of him on stage with Cab Calloway smoking, just like, I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about. I used to sit there and just play the licks in every key over and over for hours. I don't know, it's like he had a whole different level of getting in the jazz. But it was, I don't know if it was even instructive, but it was certainly amusing. And it's like sometimes I do wish that I had whatever he found to apply, the obstacles of the pleasure centers and frontal lobe preventing us from getting into that. So.
It's that wall, man. I'm telling you, it's that wall.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw it, thank you, Rezi. I'm going to throw it to Alex. Talk to me, Alex.
It's not the ideal way to practice, but if you're in a rut, don't try to play your whole repertoire over 3 times. Try to just do your warm-up and then sing whatever you want to. Make just some noise with your mouth, or just make some random pattern at your synthesizer, or do whatever you want. If you struggle to do it regularly, I think that's some lesson I learned, that it's not about trying to not forcing yourself to do the perfect thing, but just to try to bring yourself near doing the thing at all. Because if you put your level this high, you can't get there. But if it's like this, you can make a step, and it's much easier.
Very true. Adam, go. I'm after you, Adam.
First of all, Alex, that is so astute. It really is. Like small bits. What do they say? Every journey begins with a step, right? It's is comprised of small steps, whatever it is. So you're totally right on with that. How do you get there, I think, was the question that Carl threw out there at some point. And my answer is you have to love it. Like, you have to love it. Like, so, like, there are things that we don't want to do because we have that, that laziness or whatever pleasure center thing, where we're like, well, I don't want to exercise, but you have to learn to love. You have to like convince yourself sometimes that you love doing these things that are not easy to do, because it will get you to the thing that you do love to do. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
you know, you're never going to pick up a guitar and become a virtuoso. No, 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 no. You know, you're going to practice and practice and practice. You have to learn the guitar. I mean, if you're going to become a virtuoso, and most people don't. Let me stress this. You know, the rare maybe percentage of people who ever pick up a guitar, the less than 1% that become, you know, an Eddie Van Halen or a virtuoso player, that, you know, a truly creative player, that explores the instrument in a way that it hasn't been previously explored. To get there requires spending, I mean, that's like literally eating, breathing, shitting your guitar. Like living with it constantly, loving it, hating it constantly, hating the suck, but loving going through the suck because it gets you to where you're going.
Yeah.
You have to train your brain to love it. You have to train your brain to do the things that you don't love to do, and convince yourself that you love them.
Thank you. Two things. One, Rosie, I do see your hand. If you have a shirt or something, put on the shirt. Like I used to have this painting schmuck. I know that sounds so weird. And then I got a couple of them when I was in university, and then I started wearing lab coats. That when I put on the lab coat, it means I'm making music. Because my brain said lab coat equals music, put on the fucking lab coat. And, you know, you can buy lab coats really cheaply for like $20-$30. Or whatever it is. It might be a hat. It might be your special music making hat. But seeing something that you can actually see on your body is really good. I have a friend who has a Mozart wig, and I want a goddamn Mozart, like a crazy fucking Mozart wig. Because it is when that thing is on, it's like a suit, and you wear your suit to work. Another thing, and we've talked about this in the past, is smell. And I have an oil burner, and I got it's a thing that when I have that smell, it's time to make music. I have trained my brain to have these things that push me into a creative flow state. That's all I'm going to say, but I'm going to throw it to the res now.
I wanted to tie together what Alex and Adam touched on, but then all I can think about is you've been a wig, Carl, so I may be off track. Practicing harder, shitting a guitar. There were a few gems in there, but the main thing that came to mind is for practicing correctly. I think I've said this before, but taking it down a notch and learning the things correctly, because I've definitely spent decades practicing fruitlessly perhaps, and putting in the effort and getting past the obstacles of not wanting to rehearse, but not really getting the details of it. The solos that I learned, you know, Alex Lifeson Rush solos that I learned when I was 13, I still learned the wrong way, and I still know the wrong way, and they're in my muscle memory and habits the wrong way. But sometime when I became an adult and it became harder to learn and things slowed down a bit, I did take the time to, this is what Alex was saying, isolating the parts, just working on one section of the lick, figuring out the optimal fingering and getting to know it, and then stringing those together after drilling on them correctly and isolating them. So those are the two things between what Adam and Alex were saying.
You have to get good enough at some point to understand that there are subtleties that you haven't realized.
Right.
That's
the wisdom of age.
That's not even the wisdom of age. It is the wisdom of experience. Like, you know what, this is what I call you lack subtlety, Potter. Like,
okay, what I want to do is, Adam, are we going to put a pin in that? What you're saying is really, really, really important. I'm going to throw it to Alex, then I'm going to throw it back to you. Alex, are you still there, or did your flatmate walk through? Alex. Okay, Adam, looks like the floor is yours. Go.
Yes. So in the Harry Potter verse there, like in the movies before everybody started hating the hateful author, there in the movie, like Snake says to Potter, he's talking about the potions making, right? And he says, "You lack subtlety, Potter." And that part sticks out to me more than anything else in those movies. It's the only thing that I could quote you from any of those movies, because it speaks exactly to this point. Like you cannot realize the subtleties until you realize the subtleties. Like you can't understand. You have to build enough of a like maybe it's like the Dunning-Kruger effect sort of thing. Like you have to realize how much you don't know before you can start to learn those things.
Thank you. Alex, you had your... Okay, go. Thanks, Adam. Alex, what you got?
I think one of the things that can also really help you is to be obsessive about the kind of music you do, and to really find a healthy obsession with your craft. So you have like this inner drive for it that keeps you going back.
Thanks, man.
I think we're all in good company of obsessive people.
Yeah. I will say that something that comes up often, always, is conversation about the wall, the neurological wall. That, and maybe it is actually your ability to move, your brain's ability to move neurological power and energy from your pleasure center to your frontal cortex, maybe cerebral cortex. Maybe it is actually a physical difficulty of your brain moving the focus. And trying to figure out how to actually do that, how to focus your area of consciousness into the front of your mind. I did want to ask about, we talk about ritual and stuff to get into it, and how to bring that wall down, and how to bring you into time to practice, time to make music. For me, I just have to get off the fucking internet and light some candles and put on a fucking jacket or something. And then that's it. I don't know for me if it's flow state or if it's shut the fuck up and work state. I don't know what it is. When people talk about flow state, I have this image in my brain of it being a magical thing with magical unicorns and grass and Teletubbies and people running in slow motion laughing. Or maybe that's acid. Gee, I don't know. But it's this magical place. I don't experience that with flow state. For me, flow state is at the bottom of a mine with a pickaxe that's sharp, going, I found the coal seam, let's go. And it stinks and it's shitty, and you just got to keep going, because the coal is only in front of you while you are chipping away at it. Quote of the day. You're welcome. Adam, I see your hand.
I'm sorry. I was Rozzy first. I think we kind of clicked at about the same time there. But all right. Okay. So flow state. I have kind of like so Carl, you go into it in this particular way. Because you have the desire to make music, like you're like, okay, this is the time in which I wish to make music, right? I kind of have this weirder thing, and unfortunately, it is probably one of the things that has fucked up my life as much as made it interesting, in that like I'm really, really impulsive, and if I have an idea, that is what makes me want to work. Like I if I don't have an idea, I won't do the thing. Now, mind you, when I say this, I want to remind everybody that like it took me over 20 years to write my record, because I had an idea when I was a fucking teenager, and it took me all that time to learn how to actually do it. Right? But I'm working from an idea, and the flow states that I experience, I think, are mostly from solving the puzzle of how to accomplish the thing that I wish to, like the thing that I am envisioning that I need to out of my brain and into physicality. And so it's for me, that flow state is like solving, like working on music, for instance. It's like I have a musical idea, and I'm like, it's enough of a musical idea that I feel like the need, like it's bubbling up in my brain. I feel the pressure, the artistic pressure to create. I must do this or I will die. And then I get into the flow state because I'm solving the puzzle. How do I make this happen? Like, my most recent experience is I'm getting ready for Halloween, right? And I was like, I've never had a really, what I consider a really good Monster Mash remix, right? So, and I wanted to do something with the Cramps, their Goo Goo Muck, right? And I was like, And so, I had these ideas. I went in, and this is where I find that the flow state is when I start actually working on the music, and it gets down into that nitty gritty, like, I'm trying to, slide notes around to quantize human players that are going on no kind of even tempo. And that's where I hit the flow state is the technical aspect of solving the puzzle. Does that make sense? It's like, like time vanishes. Like, you're in the flow state when time vanishes. Like when you look at your watch and you're like, shit, it's nighttime now, or shit, the sun's coming up. Or whatever it is.
You're blessed that you've got a really strong place of inspiration, creation, and flow state. Like, your brain naturally slots in there. You're blessed. So many of us don't, and that's excellent. So your wisdom is sorry.
I said I'm crazy is what it is. I'm nuts.
Well, yeah, but we're all pretty batshit. But I guess there's just different colors of batshit wildness. But that's a good thing. Thank you, Adam. Rezi, your hand was up, but now it's not up anymore.
It was. I liked what Adam was saying, and I was just sort of agreeing with it. Since you said my name, I'm talking, which, even though he kind of covered where I was at. But I did like your allusion to ritual and perhaps better word than sacred spaces, like intentional spaces. And, it's no coincidence that a censer full of myrrh and frankincense is a big ritual thing for certain organizations with the trappings and costumes and singing and stuff. And that's like, if you can build that for yourself as your own little shrine, church, temple, I think it's important for a lot of people. I mean, sense memories of space and color and dim lights, and I don't know. I just think for me, it's more powerful than the organized version of it, the group version. It's kind of like a personal version, a personal Jesus, if you will.
Pull up. That was good.
Right,
that was good. So
pull from our earlier conversation.
I really and we're talking about the flood of inspiration, but we're not going to do the passionate gags now. That was you brought up something very important, that you need to establish a church of your creative thing, because just let me jump in there, Adam, really quickly. Is that we had a conversation before, and it was dark, and it was important, and it's got to be had, and it is something that fuels me, and it's something that Adam has to live with, hopefully for not much longer, because hopefully Adam is going to heal up soon. And once again, next weekend, there's the Facebook event right there. That I want you to jump on that and throw this man money, because he needs it so he can pay his medical bills. What was I talking about before this?
Personal church.
Yes. Yeah, personal churches are important. It's kind of gone right now. It'll come back. It doesn't matter. But that GoFundMe, that Facebook link is more important than anything I was talking about. Here's Adam. And then we're going to write.
Intentional. I love the idea of just intentional spaces. And when you said that, Roz, I immediately thought, I was like, geez, my existence is intentional spaces. I have this section over here in which I do this, I make watches on this desk. I make jewelry on this desk. I make MTV TV on this desk. I make, I have my whole living room is my green screen studio. It's an intentional space just for getting on Twitch and DJing and doing the shows. Like I have a room upstairs that is pretty much just dedicated to my turntables. I call it the turntable lab, and people get to sleep in it when they visit. Like they have to sleep in my turntables, but but yeah, intentional spaces. And now I'm going to say this. I happen to be in a particular place right now where I have the space to do it. A lot of times I've been doing this in a one-room situation. Sometimes a one-room apartment, sometimes just one room in an apartment. Sometimes, like way back around the time I met Raziel, I was living in like somebody's closet in Arlington. You know what I mean? I had the tiniest little room, and I still turned it into a photo studio, even though I had to practically hang out the window to get a full-length shot of somebody. Crazy, right? But that's the thing, is like, the intentional space is like, it is the artist studio. It's like, I'm gonna talk about my mom real quick, and then I'm gonna pass it on because I see Razi's waiting. This thing that my mother and I have sort of battled over for years, right, is that like I will start working on a project, my mother will come along and clean it up, right? And this even happened, it was a number of years ago now when I was staying with her when I was out in Stroudsburg there, right? It's like, I took her studio over and I completely draped it like a Dexter kill room, because that's how I paint. Like, when I paint, it's a very messy process. So I completely cover everything, make it a kill room there, right? And I started working on some paintings. And then I went out with my friends there, with Diana and some of our friends down there. And then I come back, and it's completely, she's wrapped up all the plastic, and it's all, and I'm like, Mom, I wasn't done yet. But that's the thing, is like, you have to have the space so that you can actually, accomplish the project. I like the idea of intentional spaces, because, you're creating, by using these other sort of tricks, like, sound, smell, sensory experience kind of thing. That is training your brain to, it's like, kind of like when you, I don't know, like any job that you have, you walk into that job, right, and it smells like it smells, and like suddenly you're there, and you're like, okay, it's time to go to work, right? It smells like it smells. It sounds like it sounds. So if you can create that environment for yourself, and of course create the intentional space in which you're like, this is where I do this thing that I do. I think that's just I think that how do I say this? It's crucial. It's an artist's studio.
Yeah.
You have to have a place to.
We lost you.
No, you didn't lose me. I just stopped talking. That's what I did.
Thank you, Adam. That was great. Can I just jump in really quickly, because there was something I was trying to say, but I forgot. We were talking about darkness, and we could feel the darkness, and that darkness it's there. It's there. It's real, and it is inspiring, and it is the fire in the bellies. But since then, we have been talking about the creative process, and in doing so, our spirits have lifted. And there's a very important balance. We've got to keep talking about that darkness. We've got to remember it's there. But in talking about the creative process and talking about these things, our minds are opening. And they are opening to possibilities, and they are opening to positivity. And in doing so, our bodies are healing. And our bodies are releasing joy, love, healing energy. That's why we do Art of Rock. It's a balance between the darkness that is inspiring, and then conversations to be inspired. So today's been really excellent because we've wonderfully covered both bases, and the topic of what we were talking about is so close to me. Care for the people, care for healthcare, etc. Rezi and Alex, you guys had your hand up, and I want you to come back.
You sounded like you were closing up, so...
well, yeah, I'm going to close up in a bit, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. When we're going to get off. Then we're going to write to MTV TV. But I want to hear what you guys have to say of what we were talking about before.
I guess I can bring it back a little bit. Try anyway. Nope.
I broke it.
I liked where you were going, man.
I broke it. I'm sorry.
You were putting such good punctuation at the end of a long sentence that, you
Sorry.
wrapped it up nicely. I didn't
sorry.
To apologize.
Alex, did you want to jump in?
I just want to second what Adam said, because I have this rehearsal space I go to, and in theory I don't need it because I can rehearse with in-ears, but every time I go there it's just like, well, I guess I start doing vocal exercises and there's nothing else to do there, so I just do that.
Awesome. That's great. Do it.
That's actually brilliant. There's nothing else I can do. Yeah, like what? Why not create because you're bored? That's where most of my shit comes from, is dealing with boredom.
I agree, but the trick is two things. One, don't death scroll, don't go on YouTube, don't play Galaxians. When you're bored, no, don't you fucking play Galaxians. When you're bored, rehearse, make music. That's what we're trying to do. Secondly, Alex, you went somewhere. And when you go there, you're there. Because the whole trip, the decision to make, as soon as you walk out the door and make the decision that you're going, you're there. Then you're traveling there and you're getting into the mindset, and then you're there and you do it. And then, but, it's a good thing. The issue increasingly is there's no there to go to. That's why you make the decision. You might put your you might have special shoes for music. You might have your special Crocs that you put on. You have your special shirt. You have your, because it's like I used to work in a hospital. As soon as you smelt the smell of hospital, you're there. It's time to work. Your special leather pants, for sure, man. I used to work in a print shop, like, or have a studio in a print shop, and as soon as I smelt printing ink, I fucking love printing ink. As soon as I hear those machines, you're there. It's when it's time to paint, as soon as you smell the oil or the acrylic, you're there. Yes, you're there. And it could be a special, I've just seen Diana having a coffee. It might be a special brand of coffee that you only drink when you're making music. And here's a pro tip, make it a nice expensive one. Not like the usual $5 one, get a $10 one. So when you smell that French vanilla or whatever it is, because that's your special I'm making music now coffee, you're there. So if you don't have a rehearsal space, if you don't have a studio, if it's you're on your computer, and also turn off the fucking internet unless you can't because your fucking software needs internet, blah, 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 to function. It's about getting there. And you know what, man? The thing about a wall, we're talking about that wall that is in my mind, and I know it's in other people's minds. Climbing that fucking wall sucks. Because it is the decision to climb the wall, and the thing about the fucking thing just disappears because you're there. You're there. He said, pointing to his third eye. If anybody else wants to jump in at this stage, that's a great cadence to leave on. I'm going to do the shutting down spiel now, unless anybody has a final word. Adam.
Why are you looking at me, man?
We're out of here. We're done. This time next week, well, actually, Art of Rock is going to be on, but we're going to be pushing something super important, which is Adam's live stream. It is going to be huge. This is made possible with ANGELSPIT'S Patreon, and many of you are here, and I thank you. You don't need to be a Patreon member to be in this chat. You're welcome to just jump in. It's a few bucks a month, and you're going to help keep me going and help keep me talking all the bullshit that I talk all the time. ANGELSPIT'S new album is The Bastard Gods. I like it. It seems like everybody who supports ANGELSPIT likes it. So fucking get that thing. In fact, if you have a few bucks, don't spend it on my Patreon and don't buy my album. What I want you to do is give it to Adam at his GoFundMe. That's the URL to the Facebook. Jump on that, and we're going to make this happen. That's what we're going to do. It's going to be a raid. It is going to be bloody awesome. Now we are going on over to MTV TV, and we're going to hang out back here for a bit, and we're going to have a chat because it's going to be awesome. If you're watching on Facebook, no one watches on Facebook. I don't even know why I did that. Or Twitter, no one watches on Twitter either. Or YouTube, quite a few people watch on YouTube. That's where we're going. We're going to Twitch. We're going to watch MTV TV. If you have a video, send it to them. They will play it. They're bloody awesome. Diana, will you rate us? And thank you so much. And like I said, we're hanging out the back. And if you got the Zoom URL, you're welcome to join us. Love and Distortion, we are a community and we are going to get through this. And music is going to get us through it. Same with too much black eye makeup. But hey, that's just how it is. You rock!